The Texas plains stretched endlessly beneath a burning orange sky. In 1872, there was nothing but wind, dust, and danger. Ethan Graves had lived alone for nearly 5 years, taming a small patch of land on the edge of Comanche territory. He'd seen raids before, ranches burned to ash, settlers vanished into the night, but he'd also learned that not all tales about the Comanche were true. Still, when he found the girl by the creek that evening, he felt his heart twist with fear. She couldn't have been more than 16. Her dark hair was tangled with leaves, her leg torn open from what looked like a wolf's bite. Her breathing was shallow, her hands trembling as she tried to crawl away. Ethan held out his hands, speaking softly, "Easy now, miss, I ain't gonna hurt ya." She didn't understand his words, but something in his voice made her stop struggling. He wrapped her wound with a strip torn from his shirt and lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light, and burning with fever. Ethan carried her all the way to his cabin, glancing over his shoulder every few minutes, expecting arrows from the tree line. But the land stayed silent. Only the wind followed. Inside his cabin, Ethan laid her on his cot and boiled water. He cleaned her wound carefully, though she flinched each time he touched her leg. "You'll be all right," he murmured, not sure why he was talking to her, maybe to remind himself that he was doing the right thing. He gave her a small piece of bread, which she accepted hesitantly. Her eyes were sharp, alert even in pain, eyes that had seen too much for someone her age. When she finally drifted to sleep, Ethan sat by the fire, staring into the flames. He knew what might come. If she had a tribe, and she surely did, they would come for her. And when they found her in his home, they would think he had kidnapped her. Still, he couldn't leave her to die out there. His mother used to tell him, "Son, mercy makes a man, not bullets." That night, thunder rolled far off in the hills, and Ethan barely slept. He dreamed of horses, war cries, and arrows flying through smoke. At dawn, he heard movement, the girl trying to stand. Her wound was still raw, but she smiled faintly when he handed her water. For a brief second, Ethan felt peace. Maybe she would recover, and he could send her back to her people. Then came the rumble. Deep, rhythmic, unending, the sound of dozens of horses. Ethan stepped outside, his rifle in hand. On every side of his cabin, the horizon came alive with riders. Feathers caught the morning light. Faces were painted for war. The Comanche had come, and they were 70 strong. Ethan's heart pounded as he counted the riders, dozens, maybe 70, all armed with spears, bows, and rifles. They moved like a storm closing in, silent but deadly. His cabin, once his sanctuary, now felt like a wooden box ready to be crushed. Ethan laid his rifle down on the porch. He knew if he fired even once, he'd never live to reload. The warriors surrounded his cabin in a perfect circle. In the center rode a tall man wearing an eagle feather headdress, the chief. His expression was carved from stone, his eyes cold with fury. He raised his hand, and the riders halted. The sound of hooves faded, replaced by the crackle of the wind. Ethan raised both hands, palms open. "I didn't mean no harm," he shouted, though he doubted anyone understood. He stepped slowly toward the edge of the porch, careful not to make a sudden move. Inside the cabin, the Comanche girl stirred, hearing the noise. The chief barked a command, and 2 warriors dismounted, moving toward the door. Ethan's breath caught. If they entered, they'd see the girl, and his fate would be sealed. But before they could take another step, a voice cried out from inside the cabin. The girl appeared in the doorway, leaning on the frame for balance. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with life. She shouted something in Comanche, sharp, fast, filled with emotion. The words were foreign to Ethan, but he could feel their weight. Every warrior turned toward her, listening. The chief's expression shifted from rage to confusion, then disbelief. Slowly, the chief dismounted and approached. The girl limped toward him, tears streaming down her face. She reached out and touched his chest, calling him, "Ata, father." The silence that followed was so deep, Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. The chief pulled her into his arms, trembling with relief. Then he turned to Ethan. For a long moment, they stared at each other, 2 men from different worlds, bound by a single act of mercy. The chief's gaze softened. He placed his hand over his heart and nodded. Ethan lowered his head in respect. "She's safe now," he said quietly, even though he knew they didn't share a language. But the chief seemed to understand. He gave an order, and the warriors began to turn their horses. No arrows flew, no weapons raised. Within minutes, the great circle of riders broke apart, disappearing into the horizon as quickly as they had come. Only the chief and his daughter lingered. Before leaving, the chief approached Ethan one last time. He took a beaded necklace from his neck, a token of his people, and placed it in Ethan's hand. Then, without a word, he rode away with his daughter beside him. Ethan stood alone on his porch as the dust settled. The morning sun broke through the clouds, bathing the land in gold. He looked at the necklace and smiled faintly. That day, a cowboy's kindness had bridged a world of war, and turned enemies into brothers beneath the endless Texas sky.